Testing. Okay, here we go. Hey Richard, I just wanted to let you know, I'm doing the door demo right now. Just a couple of things. I did try and see if I can make it from scratch, and here's the thing. I actually used someone else's script, and then kind of made my own version of that for my project, and it worked. Then I tried to make it my own, like essentially do it from memory and stuff, and it was a little more complicated than it looked. So here's the deal. I'm actually just suggesting that maybe I just give you that as an asset, and then from there, we can work with that. And I'm actually just going to show you how that works. So yeah, let's get to it. Um, okay, so I have this door right here, and I scaled it up to size. So the only thing left for me to do, I'm going to select the group, is to kind of animate real quick. So what I'm going to do actually is just hold down D, and this is all in one too. Um, I'm going to hold down D, and then I'm going to hold down D again, and then kind of get that pivot point more or less in the right direction. There you go, something like that. There we go. And so here we go, I guess where the hinges would be. And now I'm going to animate this. So I'm going to key this here, key select, and then I'm going to go ahead and go to 30 frames, and then going to rotate this out maybe negative 120 or negative 125 for that. But I'm going to do key select. And so I'm going to put this at 29. And so now it just does that. There you go. All right, cool. Let's see. Am I forgetting anything? Well, again, it would have to be, 24 frames per second, right? Not like play every frame. And after that, honestly, yeah, that's it. So I scaled it up to size. I did delete history and freeze transformations, so everything else is frozen. I mean, zeroed out. So the next step would be just to export this guy. So I'm gonna do File, Export Selection, and then in here, I guess I didn't make a folder, so I'm gonna make one, and I'm just gonna call this FBX underscore Unity. Right, and then I'm gonna double click in that. These, all the same. So the new thing is, like I have to click on animation and I have to bake animation, and then I'm gonna just put this to 1 to 30. I know I should put 1 to 29, but I'm just gonna do that for the heck of it. And then I'm gonna change this to meters. It's already set, so I check that off. Put it to meters. Now, the only reason I'm doing this is so that way, if like I try to in Unity try to like say move the position or like kind of make it bigger and stuff if I need to, by baking this animation, it should like essentially remember like that data or like that animation, so it won't like essentially mess up. Because the thing is in Unity, if like I manually created like a sphere or whatnot, and then I try to move it, make it bigger, and like I was like animating it so it moves up and down, and say like I move it to like the left very far away, the minute I hit play in Unity, it literally like say I moved it here, like make pretend that's the ball, and it was originally here. I hit play and it's gonna go back over here. So this just gives us more freedom, I think. So yeah, these are the steps. This stuff, animation, bake animation turned on. From the range for how long my animation is, and yeah, automatic, and yeah, and I gotta name it. So I'm just gonna call this door test. And I'm just gonna say 02 because I think I did it before. And oh, I said dorts or dots. Let me just change that real quick. And then there we go. And then I'm gonna export. And it's gonna take a couple of seconds. Oh wait, it's in low poly, so actually, yeah, no issues at all. All right, that's good. If you do see issues, I mean, it should be fine. It should be like, maybe complex animation, curves, and then like that usual, like if you have it in three, like I don't know, meshes tessellated or something. If you get that, that's okay. But if you get something like material or like something else, then maybe there's a problem. But I don't think there will be. Here, let me just do it just in case. Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna do it. Because I got an error message the first time, but I guess this time I didn't. Okay, so I'm gonna go into Unity. I already made my project, so I have my. So I have here. I have my models folder. Say in my first one, I have a scenes folder, scripts. So this here is the script I'm gonna give you, and then I have an animations folder, and I made an animation into that, an animation subfolder and a controls folder. I'll explain in a minute why I did that, but I have some basic folders right here. So in here, now that I've exported my thing, I'm gonna go ahead and put it into here now, my export, if I can find it. Let's see, go to Maya, go to projects. I'm taking this from MCAP1. Where's MCAP1? There we go. I'm going to my assets, I have Unity, and then there we go, door test 1. Okay, so, nothing too different. I'm going to go in here, I'm going to check on this, UV light maps, check off that, and I'm going to hit apply. Let me give it a second. Okay, cool, I did it. So now I'm going to go into animations, and here, I'm going to go down here where it says clips, take, and then here's going to be a plus sign, and I'm going to hit add, because I'm going to have 2 animations going. So this right here, I can rename it by clicking into this area, and I'm just going to call this still. And then this right here, I'm going to go ahead and change the range from 1 to 1. So I'm doing this so that way when the game is playing, this door will not move. Because if I just had it by default, like, having the opening animation play, it's just going to keep on looping that over and over again. Or it's going to play even though I don't set it to loop. So that's why I'm doing this. So I'm putting it in a range where like it's locked. It will not move from 1 to 1. So there you go. I'm going to lock this now. I'm going to say loop time. So now this keeps on playing, but since it's 1 to 1, it's like locked. It will not move at all. Okay. And then I'm going to go here and I'm just going to say open. So in this case, it's in like the range I need it to be. See, it's like 129, 1 to 29. And then this, I'm not going to have it loop. So now this here is going to be the opening animation. So this is looped. See there, loop time. And this is not. It's at the range where I need it to be. And then if you don't believe me, aha. So I'm going to hit apply. It's going to take a little bit. Oh, I did it. Never mind. Okay. So now going back over here to where like my animations folder and why I created these 2. I mean, this is just for my own like sanity. That's how I like to organize it. Animations is where my animations will go if I put them in there. But here, controllers, like you see I have this. So the way we make that is by doing create animator controller. And this is the thing that's going to like essentially tell Unity like, hey, you need to play these animations because, I have this controller attached to it. So I'm just going to rename this to door 02 control, right? And yeah, we're getting close. So I need to now get this new door testing into the scene. And let me just see. Came out smaller than it did before. That's weird. Maybe the plane is just that big, but of course, you're better at this than I am in terms of like scaling, so I'll leave it like that. So okay, the door's in there. You see over here, like I have the whole door export selected. It's asking for an animator controller. So, we need an animator controller in order to like, get this animation going. So I'm gonna go to controls, and then again, just to rehearse, to just go over that again. It's just create animator controller, and then, there it is. Again, I just put it in a separate folder because that just makes sense to me. So again, I'm going to click this again, and then here, I'm going to go ahead and click the one that I made, this one, and I'm going to literally drag and drop into here. And then, we're close, but we're not done yet. Sorry. And then I'm going to click into my animator submenu, or animator tab. If you don't have that, you can just do, here, add tab, and I mean, if that doesn't show up too, like what you can do as well is like, if it didn't pop up, like for example, let me just do it right now. Let me hit none. And then I'm going to go ahead and then double click this, or sorry, I'm going to reattach it. I'm going to double click this, and then that should bring up the animators, tab automatically. All right. So the next thing is, I'm going back to the animator tab. Here's where like all my animations are going to come up, but nothing's in there, because I need to go into the model and actually grab the animations. So the animations actually came with the model because, I baked it in, and that's what we want. Of course, if you like animated anything in Unity, so like I would put it in here. I mean, that's just my logic. So I'm going back to my models, and then this is the model I'm gonna use, and then here's my animations: the still and open. So literally, I'm gonna take it and then drag and drop it into here, and there you go. So now here we have like the still highlighted. That means this is the default state, meaning like when it starts playing, that's when like it's gonna it's gonna stick to this animation. All right, so we're almost done. I'm gonna now click this and add a bool, and I'm gonna call it is opening right here. And then this right here, what I'm doing, and it has to be under parameters. It's the condition that allows me to control when like I'm opening the door and when I'm closing the door. Again, I'm not gonna go too much into like the coding logic and whatnot because I don't want to like confuse people. But that's just the thing that's gonna help us tell Unity like, okay, open the door, and now don't open the door. Okay, so we created this, we dragged and dropped them into here, and now this is the default state. If by any chance that this somehow, like when you dragged it in, it becomes a default state, like just how you saw right now, I can literally just click the right one and then right click and then just make this the default state. That's if like, the ROG animation comes in as like, the thing that starts off, if it's highlighted orange. Okay, hope that made sense. I'm sorry if like I'm talking too fast. I'm a little hyper right now. All right, so I click this, right, and now I need to make a connection. So I'm going to right click, make transition, and then click onto open. And then I'm going to click open, right click, make transition, and make to click it onto still. So now these two will go back and forth with each other. But nothing will happen until I click this arrow and then kind of give it a condition. So this right here. So when still goes to open, I'm going to click the plus sign, and I'm going to actually make this, true. And then I'm going to click off exit time. Now this right here, kind of as like the name suggests, exit time is literally the amount of time the animation needs to go through before it goes to the next animation. So by clicking this, the minute like in Unity I activate the animation, like say I need to hit Q, which is what we're going to do, to like play the opening animation, I don't have to wait for the still animation to finish because it will automatically go to the open animation. Of course, this doesn't really apply to us because still doesn't do anything, but like say, for example, there was a character and you need to do a punch animation, right? So still would be his idle. And so like if I have it set up like this and I hit Q to punch, it will automatically go to punch. It won't wait for like the whole idle to go through before it goes to the punch. Again, I hope that made sense. So I clicked this arrow, I checked off exit time off, and then I clicked on the plus sign and I had to have is opening on, and I had to make it true. Now on this one, we do want exit time because we want the opening animation to play before it goes back to still. So that stays on. I'm going to hit the plus sign again, is opening, but this time I'm going to make it false because when it goes back to closing, obviously it's not opening. Again, that's a little confusing because it's a little bit of coding logic or whatnot, kind of. But these are just conditions to tell Unity like, hey, when this is true, play the opening animation. And when this is false, play the closing animation. And that's it. Okay, so we're done with that. And then here's the scene. Of course, nothing is still done because now I need to create what's called a trigger. And I think you're familiar with this. But yeah, I'll break it down. So I'm going to create a cube. And now here's my cube. And then this is what I'm going to do because this is going to be an area of effectiveness. I like to think of it. So this is going to be our trigger. And then it's okay if it's overlapping the door, because what I'm going to do here is going to go to this gear sign with this selected, the inspector. I'm going to remove the component, this, and I'm going to remove that. Actually, let me do that again. So I'm removing the mesh filter, the cube mesh filter, and then I'm removing the mesh renderer. And then these two things we don't need because, this thing is literally going to be a green box, and it's a trigger. But it really won't work as a trigger unless I click this on. By clicking this on, it's defining it as a trigger, but also allows the player to do is literally walk through it. Because if this was checked off, then like it's still like a solid cube. It's gonna be like an invisible wall that you can't get through, and it's gonna be frustrating. So I can go ahead and click this, and now it's a trigger. And then of course, if you want to play around with it more, I think you could click edit trigger. Edit collider, and then if I do this, actually, I can't believe I didn't thought of that. Like how to like play around with the trigger. You don't have to do that to kind of like scale the size and stuff because I don't think that's really the best. Here, let me do this. Yeah, you could, but honestly, I just feel like just using the scale tool and just like moving it out, that right there is like probably the best. What I'm gonna do, you don't have to do this part. I didn't create a materials folder. I'm gonna just do it real quick, just that way the white area doesn't distract us too much. Okay, so now this is gonna be our trigger, and I'm just gonna call this door trigger. You don't have to. I'm just gonna do it just to identify stuff. All right, so now I have a door trigger. I have my animation set up with this because I set up the animator, and I gave it an animator controller so that way it's able to play the animation. But the thing that's controlling all the opening and stuff is the script. So I need to select the door trigger now, which was cube, and I renamed it door trigger. And now I'm gonna go to scripts, and then I'm gonna give you this script, and then what you need to do is like once you put it under your assets or like in the scripts folder, if you want to. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna now drag and drop this onto here. And then there you go, there's a script. Another way to do that is if you add component, and then this is under your assets folder, I could literally just type in door, and there you go. Like it will come up like door script, and I can attach it that way, if that makes it easier. Okay, this script is now looking for door in this. This is something I made. To just explain this a little bit, essentially in my script, I made it so that way I created a slot where like it's gonna say, okay, look for this game object, and when the game plays and I hit the right button, play this door game object's animation. So literally, if I made another door, for say, like a different kind of door, like a fancy door, because mine's pretty boring, I can literally just take out whatever. So here, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna literally select this, left click and hold and drag it into here. But then let's say I want to change it because now I have a different door. Well, I can literally just, hit none here. And then let's just say, for example, this was a different door. And I can drag it onto there. And then if that plane had an animation, it will now like activate it according to the script. But we're not going to go through that. So again, I'm going to click the door trigger again. Again, I dragged and dropped it onto here. The door scripts. And then, I added a component here if I wanted to with the script as well. Again, I hope that makes sense. Okay, so now here, it's looking for that door object, because right now it doesn't have anything. So this is going to be our door test in this case. So I'm going to click and drag this into that slot, and now this is here. Now, if everything played out, this should work. Okay, let's go. Let's do it. And right, because I don't have my first-person controller, sorry. Let me go ahead, because I already imported it. First-person controller, prefabs, I'm going to drag it into the scene. And then I got to get my guy right here. Yeah, so like, I scaled it a little bit, but I think I got it more or less in the right place, right, Richard? I'm going to rotate it 180 and Y, and then I'm going to move this back a little bit. All right, I'm going to hit play, and now I should be able to. There we go. Okay, so now if I hit Q, it opens. Hold on. Just that way I prove to you it doesn't do it automatically when I hit close. Now I hit Q again. There you go, it closes. Again, this is not perfect, but essentially the way to kind of get like the closing thing to work pretty smoothly, because that was pretty abrupt, is probably to get our own closing animation going. But the thing is, when I tried to do that, it was just a little complicated to go from like, I guess, the idle animation or still animation in my case, to the opening animation, to the closing, then back to the idle. It was just too complicated, so I just did it this way. So again, just to show you again, I hit Q, I walk through the passage, and I hit Q again. Oh, there you go. So again, now I can like hit Q to open the door, hit Q again to close the door. There you go. And I'm controlling that. This is not like automatic or anything. So yeah, I just think it's easier if like I just give you that as an asset, and then you try it with like one of your assets, and then hopefully that works, and then if it does, then we can like share that with the students. So yeah, that's how you would open and close a door. So just to reiterate the whole process again. So in Maya, you would scale it to size if you wanted to, but you would put the pivot point right there, right at the edge, and then you animate it like normal. Everything's good. You freeze transformations, delete history, all that stuff. And then, you export selection. And then it's the same thing. Like, this is all the same thing. You just need to click on animation and then bake animation. And then it reverted back, but, you define, like, how long the animation is. And then the usual like advanced units and then change that to meters. Actually, just a fun fact, like for example, let's say I did animate like closing animation, like an opening animation, and then a closing animation, like from like 1 to 60. I could literally do that, like do 1 to 60, put them all together, and then like let me show you, like right here, if I go in here, go into my models folder, click here. Remember when we were creating animations here? So literally you could have it all together, and then I could like just add a plus sign, like add another animation, and then I could call this close. And then oh, it's misspelled, but that doesn't matter. So I can literally call that close, and then from there I can like define what the range is from close, like 30 to 60. Just wanted to mention that. I hope that wasn't confusing. But again, once you like export it and stuff, like then you drag your model into there. You do the usual model UV light map thing. Don't import materials, and then here I'm just gonna delete this because we don't need it. I guess I can't. I'm gonna undo it then. I guess I can't. Never mind. No, just apply. Well, just ignore what I did right there, because it has that. Sorry. So ignore this. So this is gonna probably come in as like takes and stuff. You're gonna need to make one. You need to like add a plus sign, right, and make another one, and then you're gonna make one that's still or idle and make it 1 to 1, so that way it doesn't move, and loop it. Then open right here. You're gonna make that 1 to 29 or 1 to whatever your range is, and don't make that loop, and then just hit apply, and then there you go. But that just so that way the animation's set up. Okay. So the other thing you need to do is create a controller. Otherwise, this won't ever play the animation. And once you make the controller, once you make the animator controller, you need to click on the object that's going to have the animation. It's probably going to say none. And literally, you can drag and drop that into there. Once that's done, if you cannot add it through here for some reason, like I can't find it right now, we can literally just double click on it, and then the animator submenu should or tab should pop up automatically. It shouldn't have anything right there at that point. So what you need to do is go into your models folder or find your model over here. And then right here, you click this arrow, and then your animations are right here. And then you just drag and drop them into the scene. And of course, if you need to, if this messes up and it's not the right default state, you need to just click on the right one, right click, and then make it the default state, right? Okay, and then the next thing was parameters. We made, clicked on this, made a bool, not a trigger, a bool, very important. And then, called it isOpening. Oh, and it's also very important that here, my naming convention is like followed to the teeth, because literally the coding is very case sensitive. Like you think Substance Painter is very case sensitive. This is even more of a pain in the butt. So yeah, so it's important that this is spelled exactly how I spell it right now. Okay. So here, it didn't have any arrows. So, I created a transition from here to here, and then I clicked on this and created a transition from there to there. And of course, when I click on this one, I check off exit time. I click on the plus side, opening, true. And then I click on this one, and then I make sure this is checked on. I hit the plus side and make sure isOpening is false right there. So that's telling Unity, hey, when this is true, go to the opening. When it's false, go to the still. So that, make sure that this connection works. All right, so now we're done with that, but then of course, nothing's set unless we have a trigger, right? This. So you create a cube, you make it so that way it encapsulates the whole object. So this is like an area of effectiveness, or the thing that's gonna control the animation when the player enters the trigger per se. And it's not enough to go over here and remove the components, like it was a mesh and cube filter, like a mesh renderer and a cube filter. You need to also, under here where it's box collider, you need to click on is trigger, right? Okay, so once that's done, you need to attach my script. And then literally you can drag and drop it from your assets, or you literally could just do add component and just type in door and it should pop up. Then it has an empty slot, which you literally just need to drag and drop the object from here that has the animation. And then from there, it should be working perfectly. Let me just play it one more time. It opened, and then it closed. Because I hit Q. All right, just to show you again, I hit Q right there. Again, it's not closing because I didn't tell it to close. And I'm gonna hit Q again. Yeah, Q as in dog, by the way. But there you go. That's how we do it. I hope this helped. And if it didn't, let me know again, Richard, and I'll try again.